What ho, folks? I'll just pop the chat out. There we go. Right then. There we are. Now, mate, RP, how you doing? Right. I haven't got much time, so I haven't got time to mess around and edit a marvellous professional as fuck video like I normally do. Alright, Ben, how are you? This needs watching. It's a fucking good video. Talk radio this morning. Honestly, I think a man should be mature enough to face the mirror and admit when he's wrong. I've always said this. It's something that was instilled in me by the core. When you're wrong, you open your mouth and you admit it. Al, all right, mate. Sad Wings, Ben, everyone. Cheers. I'm glad you're here. And I'm wrong. And I think it's time to admit it. Wrong. I voted Conservative in the last election. I got all my mates to vote Conservative. As many people as I could convert, I did. And it's time to hold my hands up and face the mirror and say I was definitely wrong. Boris Johnson, I don't think any of us were daft enough to think he's a Conservative. He isn't a Conservative. You know, if you really know about political machinations in the UK, there's nothing really Conservative about Boris Johnson, and none of us were daft enough to think he was Conservative. In the purest sense of the words, in the purest sense of the term, even Margaret Thatcher, not really a Conservative, is she? She's more of a free market libertarian. Margaret Thatcher was a massive fan of Milton Friedman, and he was all about free market liberalism. So these people aren't Conservatives in the purest sense of the word, you know, Roger Scruton conservatism. Gibbon, I think I'm more of a orangutan than a gibbon. The point is, we knew he wasn't Conservative, but we just sort of all bottled it and said, we just have to let Boris have free reign because the alternative is Corbyn. And I honestly think now, we'll watch this video and we'll go through it and we'll see how you feel by the end of it. But I honestly feel like at this point, we've just got to accept the fact that if we have to live with 4 years of Labour, it is worth it if it's going to put the final nail in this neoliberal, weird fucking thing where you've got red Tories and blue Labour are basically all the same now. Like, nothing Keir Starmer's said is any different to anything Boris Johnson said. If anything, all that Keir Starmer's said is, oh yeah, well, if we were in charge, we'd do the lockdown slightly faster. Like, there hasn't been any choice. And I feel as if it's been a stitch-up for the last 30 years. Like, Blair made... Well, it regards that, Ben, my point is, someone like Farage now, to me, is our only hope. Like, he seems to... And again, I don't love Nigel Farage. He's got his own problems, I'm sure, and he's another posh, you know, millionaire businessman who looks after himself. But we need someone like that who's a populist. Someone who actually, if you watch videos of Farage, he goes out and he has a pint and a tab and he talks to people and he meets normal people in the street. And watch this video and see what you think of it. Because by the end of it, I was thinking, I didn't disagree with anything Farage said. Nothing. And it's made me think, he's the only one. Everyone has to go balls deep with Farage next election. And just vote for him, no matter what he calls his party. He's going to have to rebrand the Brexit Party, probably. Although, who gives a fuck, right? It doesn't matter what it's called. I think we're all going to have to go conquer deep in Nigel's fucking ring piece. Because the alternative is more of this illiberal statism. Because seriously, I've watched a lot of talk radio this morning. I was listening to Peter Hitchens again. Yeah, Paz, I get it. I get it. Don't particularly love the bloke, but just listen to this video, we'll go through it. I didn't disagree with anything he said. And for all of his flaws, at least he seems to talk to normal people in pubs. Like, remember before the European elections, I was watching him in a social club with like 50 pensioners, just drinking bitter and having a chat about things. And he seems to do a better job of being a populist, which, again, why is that word fucking cancer? Populist seems to be popular, right? Populist, why is that a demon fucking word? Oh my God, he's a populist. You mean he does shit that the majority agree with? Like, it's really weird. If you're a lefty twat and you do shit that the majority of them agree with, that's fine. They go, oh yeah, he's doing as he's supposed to. If you're right wing and you do what the people agree with, they go, oh, he's a populist. I don't understand why. That's a fucking nasty word. Populist isn't a rude word. And again, all credit to Trump, right? I remember last year he said, oh, you shouldn't use the word nationalist, but I'm a nationalist. What's wrong with being a centrist, liberal? Again, I'm a liberal. I think people should be free to do whatever they want, which would be a good fucking way to go for the lockdown, wouldn't it? You're free to stay in and hide under the bed like a coward if you're terrified of everything, and I'm free to go out and have a pint and meet my friends and watch the footy and do whatever I want. Freedom. You fucking stay in and hide under your bed and be a total shithouse, yeah? Soft as a second-hand arsehole, hiding in your fucking shed, and I can go at the pub. And if you don't want to go at the pub, you stay in your shed. And if you do want to go at the pub, you go at the pub. That's liberal. That's liberalism. Let the public make their own decisions. So I'm going to play this video. I'll stop it intermittently and we'll have a chat about it. But honestly, come the end of it, I was like, well, three things. First of all, Boris Johnson and Keir Starmer are two cheeks of the same arse, as RP says there. Secondly, I can no longer support the Conservative Party to the point where I will be willing to see the Labour Party take 4 years. Because at the end of the day, we can all tighten our belts. We can deal with it. We're stoic English men and women, and Welsh in the case of Paz. We can deal with it. We can deal with 4 years of Labour, but we need to force change. And thirdly, I don't disagree with anything Farage says in this. So for all of his flaws, you can't tell me he's not the best choice out of the current. Who else are we going to pick? Not the Greens, not the Lib Dems, right? Not Plaid Cymru, not the SNP. They're all basically far left. The SNP and Plaid Cymru and the Greens, they're communists. These are the people who do the maths and go, oh, we need 31% of black people in the Met. We need 51% of them to be women. That is communism. I don't want to get into, like, massively segueing into political science because I don't want to, like, bore people. But that's communism. If you're literally doing the maths, that is a tenet of communism. That's like going, all right, 51% of mechanics should be women. 50% of primary school teachers should be men. You're a fucking communist. Free people making free decisions in a free society won't organise themselves into nice little categories that will please you when you're a communist. So when you were like, oh yeah, 50% of mechanics should be women, 50% of plumbers, although weird, they never do talk like that, do they? Because they want 50% of them to be CEOs and 50% of them to be fucking high-powered boardroom executives, but they never say 50% of bin men, yeah? And you never see a bin man with tits. You just see hairy-ass blokes doing the shite jobs. But that is communism. When you start doing the maths and going, we have to have this, we have to have 21%, 20%, you're a commie. And the SNP and Plaid Cymru and the Greens and the Lib Dems, all of them have basically been eaten by this really clever neoliberal sort of far-left academic movement. The BBC, Sky News, Channel 4, it's took over. And the last chance we've got now is populism. Like, seriously, any lefties, send this video to lefties and get them to come on and tell me why. Is Channel 4 not a communist organisation? The shit they come out with, it's mental. The academics, apparently it all happened in the US, it started here, and they managed to cleverly rebrand Marxism, communist ideology, and just shove them in, march through the institutions, take over the civil service, take over the educational establishment, take over the likes of Sky News and the BBC and Channel 4, and they're commies. McCarthyism needs to make a fucking comeback, and he was an arsehole and he took it too far and he used to crush people's fucking individual freedoms. But we sort of needed to make a comeback. We need to have disdain and loathing for, like I said, likes of Kathy Newman or people at the BBC who really will have us in fucking chains. So I'm turning my back on Boris. It needs to happen. And if we have to have 4 years of commies in charge, well, I'm sure we can deal with it. And if it all kicks off after that, we'll get where we want to be. But something needs to change. Yeah, McCarthy, it turns out the cunt was right. He was a bit of a mad bastard. But I think if you had to have one or the other, where we're at now, or him, I think I'd take the fucking latter. But watch this, see what you think. Nothing, Farage doesn't put a foot wrong here in the old video. So let's jump in. Let me know if the sound's not working.
Now, you will have seen loads of different headlines over the course of the weekend about how Chris Whitty thinks that the infection rate is going in the wrong direction. We are told the R rate, which I've already told you, doesn't really mean a fag end at the end of the day, because the R rate is generated by collecting loads and loads of data, including what people are actually doing. It doesn't necessarily mean that there is a massive rate of infection, but if you took it seriously, what we know from back in March and April was that the R rate was up to around about 3, which means for every person that got infected with coronavirus, 3 other people did. They reckon now it's less than 1.5. Scared Whittyless is the front page headline on the front page of The Sun. COVID curves will last for 6 months, number 10 warns. Let's talk to Nigel Farage, leader of the Brexit Party, who put out a very, what I can say is a very persuasive video yesterday about why the cure is now worse than the disease.
6 months. This shit's been going on this long and they want us to go back to a fucking lockdown. Like, seriously, you can all tell me, Ben, I know you're back in the borough, do you know anyone other than the most illiberal statist you fucking know? Do you know anyone who is down with another lockdown? Because I don't. I haven't met anyone who's got any patience at all for doing it again. No fucking way. Populism. If 90% of the population is not happy with lockdown, we don't go into lockdown. We've had 6 months to check the figures. We've had 6 months to look at fucking what's gone on. You can look around the world. We know the numbers. There's over 1 million people had it. The fatality rate is extremely low. It's no worse than the fucking flu. It's not more deadly. It's nowhere near as deadly as SARS or H1N1. And we didn't lock the country down for that. And normal people know this. We read newspapers. We know what went on in Japan and Singapore and Sweden and fucking everywhere else. And we're sitting here going, it's worth the risk. It's not that dangerous. Old people in the high risk can stay in and everybody else can get on with the business. And that's liberalism. That's freedom. If you're 70 fucking 9 and you're diabetic and you're morbidly obese, you stay in your house and I'll be good enough not to come knocking on your door. But you don't have the right anymore after 6 months, with public opinion being what it is, to lock everybody in the house because you're a coward and you're terrified of admitting you were wrong. That's what this boils down to. Politicians have been trained for decades to never admit you're wrong. I remember Clinton and Obama when the debates were on, and even they were both ending up telling lies because they knew they were wrong, but they can't admit it. I don't know which clever talking head said in politics never admit you're wrong, but that's what the problem is. Boris Johnson, if he had any courage, would just come out and say, right lads, we got it wrong. We'd all let him off. We'd say, you know what, it was new, we didn't know what the risks were, so you're all right, we'll let you off. We didn't know what the risks were in March, it was all new. We said, right, maybe this will kill everyone, it's got like a 10% fatality rate, we'll support it, grudgingly. That's what the most of the British public seem to do. But now, in September the 21st, people will not fucking support it, and nobody supports it. So you can't do it. If you've got your finger on the pulse of the general public and you know how they feel about it, you do not have a mandate to do another lockdown. The general public do not support it. It seems to me to be 20% tops. 20% of cringing illiberal communists are happy for the state to tell them what to do, tuck them in at night, do everything for them. But the vast majority of the country, including the majority of Conservative voters, do not support another fucking lockdown. Definitely not.
Nigel, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you very much indeed. Very worthwhile, that video, I thought, yesterday, because you kind of put your cards on the table, nailed it really, by saying that if they do decide that what the cure for this particular disease is to keep the economy going is to shut down the economy, it's kind of counterintuitive, isn't it?
What it is, and I mean, look, let's talk health to begin with, shall we?
Yeah.
Cancer diagnoses are down 75%. Treatment for chronic heart condition down nearly 70%. Goodness knows.
Hear that? That's what I've been saying. I made that video in April talking about it. I'll link that at the end. 70% down treatment for chronic heart illnesses. So, how many times have I said it? Cancer, heart disease, no more screenings, skin cancer, depression, diabetes, the amount of stuff that's going to have killed people in the last 6 months. And I made my video on the BBC on Monday about stillbirths. They've like tripled. For every 1,000 people in London, there was 6 stillbirths. Now they're up to 16. So it's like triple the amount, almost, of stillborn babies. We're literally killing babies to save 93-year-old men with fucking cancer. That's what we're doing. It's immoral. And the 93-year-old men wouldn't want you to save them, would they? Old men are fucking sound. If you were to say to some of these old cunts, shall we crack on with the lockdown, even though it's killing people with cancer in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, and heart attacks and depression and suicide, and babies, stillbirths have gone through the fucking roof, the old cunts would be like, bury me. Bury me. Do it. I'll dig the fucking hole myself, and I've got arthritis and a plastic hip. They wouldn't support it. They wouldn't support it. Deeply immoral.
What the mental well-being of millions of people is, as they now fear that if we have a second lockdown, their time on furlough, some of which was quite fun, really, wasn't it? Because the sun was shining and have a beer in the garden. But the reality that that's going to mean long-term unemployment. And you begin to realize that so many people are not getting diagnoses, are not getting medical care, are not getting help and treatment that they need. You may well find the death toll from misdiagnoses in the end is even greater than those who die from this disease. And look, I do know people myself who've been very ill with coronavirus, and I do completely understand why we should be sensible and why a degree of social distancing, hand sanitizing, I get all of that. But the truth of it is, and you can tell from what Sadiq Khan's saying, you can tell by what's been trailed ahead of this 11 o'clock press conference this morning, the Vallance and Whitty show.
Yes.
Oh, that it were a comedy, but it's not. And you can tell we're going into lockdown. 13 million people in England are in lockdown already. And I genuinely think the economic harm, the health harm, is far worse than facing a reality.
Right. Any of that, you disagree with anything he said there. That's what I was saying in April. Pete Richards and all the clever bastards were saying March. Anything he said there, wrong. The harm is demonstrable. We know the numbers now. It's not just my opinion anymore. It's a demonstrable fact. We know the fatality numbers for COVID-19. It's very, very low. We know that people are dying of cancer and heart disease and suicide and stillbirth that wouldn't be happening if we weren't in lockdown. The numbers are out and you can't deny them. The lockdown has killed and is killing more people than the COVID-19 virus. So we need to end it. And the only reason we don't is because they haven't got the courage to hold their hands up and admit it and say, lads, we were fucking wrong. Let's open the country back up. That's it. But they can't deny it anymore because we've got 6 months worth of data to analyse. So what is the argument for keeping us in lockdown? And don't even get me started on fucking California. I might do that at the end. Fuck me. You know, the worst thing about it here is they closed the gyms, which is pretty much my only hobby now other than fucking binge drinking. They closed the gyms, and because it's on fire, I can't even go out for a run. So it's like, can't go to the gym, can't go for a run, can't go for a walk, literally locked in the fucking house. And you can't go to the gym, and you can't go to the pub. What the fuck? It's a good job I like wanking myself senseless 3 times a day, isn't it? Well, I'm getting on. Twice a day now.
Which is, there is no miracle cure. All this rubbish we hear about vaccines being ready by Christmas, it just isn't going to happen, Mike. So the truth of it is, we have got to learn to live with this, and we can be encouraged by a couple of things. One, that medically, we now know much better how to deal with this. And 2, look at countries where the number of diagnoses are going through the roof, and you'll see that whilst hospitalizations are up, they're not up very much. And I think, I get the feeling, Baroness Dido Harding said she was surprised that infection rates had gone up. Well, I'll tell you what, Baroness, it's September. The kids have gone back to school. It happens every single year, and yet they appear to be surprised. My feeling overall is that Whitty, Vallance, Gove, Cummings, Johnson, and Hancock, their fear is that the historical legacy would be that huge numbers of people died and they stood aside and did nothing. That is what they're scared of. Now, look, I know they're in very high pressure situations and these are big decisions, but it's taken me months to come to this conclusion, but I genuinely this morning believe that now the potential cure of a second lockdown is genuinely worse than us learning to live with the disease.
Yes, I think there's no doubt, Nigel, and a lot of people like you have come to the conclusion after months of support for this government, because we all wanted to see a Brexit supporting government doing well. We all wanted to see Brexit happening. That appears to be going okay, but we also wanted to see a Tory government which was elected to be strong on public order, to be strong on immigration, to be strong on leaving the European Union, and quite frankly, what it isn't at the moment is strong on anything to do with coronavirus. And also, what we also know is that you can't just keep locking down the economy for 2 weeks every month or so, because that's going to kill it off. It's not going to save it, is it?
No, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Again, anything wrong with what Nigel's arguing there? These people make out as if locking the economy doesn't kill people. Just think of that. Like, we know COVID's not as dangerous as we thought it was. And they make out as if the solutions to COVID, i.e. the lockdown solutions, doesn't have any consequences. And it does. Again, not my opinion. Proven facts, demonstrable facts by looking at the data from the last 6 months. It's not even old data. I'm not going back to like fucking the Victorian era Britain and going, oh, look what happened when they had an economic collapse there. We've got the last 6 months to look at. The last 6 months is the data I'm using, and that data says two things. One, COVID-19 isn't as dangerous as we thought it was in fucking March. And two, economic and NHS lockdown has fucking killed tens of thousands, possibly hundreds of thousands of people. I think it's going to be in the hundreds, surely, right? Because he said there 70,000 additional heart patients are fucked because they didn't get screened. So there's 70,000 there. You'll be in the tens of thousands for cancer and stillbirths. And then you've got depression, suicide, drug addiction, fucking you name it. We know this. It's not my opinion anymore. It was my opinion in March. Now it's just a fact.
I mean, the other thing that was amazing was to find yesterday morning that by ministerial decree, if you test positive for coronavirus, or if somebody who has tested positive tells the track and trace scheme that they were in, close physical proximity to you, you could be fined up to £10,000 for simply leaving your house. I mean, it's draconian. It's been done without any parliamentary consultation, without any public debate. I mean, we are supposed to be a democracy. I mean, that's what Brexit was about, so that we could make decisions. So to be ruled by ministerial decree is simply wrong. And the irony that you could get fined 10 grand, even though you haven't got the virus. And yet, if you want to go, Mark,
even though you haven't got a fucking job, how are you going to pay 10 grand when you haven't been allowed to go to work for fucking 6 months? What do you think? We've all got the mines of Moira in the back garden. You can just go down and dig some gold up. Like, you've banned people from going to work for the last 6 months, you cunts. I don't know what... 10 grand, like everyone's just got it. Oh, there you go. You might have 10 grand in your arse pocket if you're a fucking upper middle class arsehole that supports the lockdown. But your average plumber hasn't got 10 grand to just fucking throw out willy-nilly. The people have got... Like I said, Nigel Farage at least seems to have common sense. All these Westminster knobheads, London elites, they don't talk to normal people because they have no idea what they're talking about. And that's Sue Ben, yeah. There's no point locking the borough down. Fucking pays the fines anyway.
Like, wear a paramilitary uniform, march through Brixton, vandalise Churchill's statue for the umpteenth time, desecrate the cenotaph, you can be pretty certain of one thing: nothing will happen to you. And it is.
And that was the bit I liked the most, right? How good's that? He is the only person who's talked about the fact that, and this is the most egregious, mind-blowing hypocrisy and stupidity yet, he's the only one who said, hang on, you didn't mind when BLM marched through London, 50,000 of them. You didn't mind when they all go out dressed like the fucking Black Panthers had gone wrong. You didn't mind when that happened. You don't mind when massive gangs of communists form angry mobs and throw bricks at the coppers and pull down statues, like in Bristol. You don't mind then. You don't do anything about it. As if the fucking virus is sentient and the virus is going to go, he's a communist, I won't infect him. I like his politics. The virus doesn't select victims by politics, right? It doesn't select them. It doesn't go, oh, look, that fucker's a conservative, I'll get him. Oh, hang on, communists and Marxists, rabble, throwing human shit at each other because they're like fucking chimpanzees. Oh, yeah, let's just ignore them. Like, that is his best point yet. This lockdown only applies to lockdown skeptics. If you're a statist communist, you can do whatever you like. You can have as big a gang as you want, right? Gang, the rule of six. They'll arrest you if you're a normal working class bloke with 7 people in your back garden. But if there's 50,000 communists throwing bricks at the coppers, you leave them to it. Double standards of policing, which again I've talked about plenty. We've got a 2-tier legal system. If you're a white working class bloke, you are the bottom rung, not just in the employment or the university statistics, but in legalese. The police don't enforce the law equally. If 10 working class blokes get together, they'll cave your fucking head in. If 10 black disabled Muslim lesbians get together, well, fucking they can do what they want. They can piss on fucking Thatcher's grave and none of them will get nicked. Because we have a 2-tier legal system. Again, because we have no political will at all to enforce the law equally. We have a 2-tier justice system. So what's the point? They're literally just going after working class people here. If you're a normal working class person, they will arrest you for breaking the rule of 6. But they won't if you're a communist rabble. And do what you want, including assaulting police officers.
This misapplication, this double standard that we're seeing right across law and order, that I think is making Middle England very angry indeed.
Oh, absolutely right. And I think this whole idea of track and trace is flawed in the first place. We had somebody who works in the system call us last week, and he said basically, if you call somebody and they don't answer the phone, there's nothing they can do. They call about 20 times and they give up. They're not allowed to give a number for you to call them back on. Equally, I said to him, what happens if somebody lives in a shared house and one person is found to have to isolate? Does that mean everybody else does? And he didn't know the answer.
No, I've heard of an example of 2 families sharing a house where one family have been told they have to isolate and the other family have been told they don't have to. So, yeah, look, it's all over the place. The other thing that annoys me is we've had 6 months of failure, 6 months of missed targets, 6 months of promises, ridiculous promises not being met. And now what Prefect Hancock does is tell us it's all your fault. Yes. It's our fault. We've not been responsible. Therefore, we must be bullied and fined if necessary. And, even President Macron, who I'm not the greatest fan of, but he went on live national television.
He's just saying there, Macron even did better than Johnson because he at least went on national TV and said, we got it wrong. We got it wrong. We didn't know how bad it was. We didn't know anything. All right, Muck, how are you doing? We didn't know anything. We fucked up. Macron admitted it. Macron, who I despise because he's like a French neoliberal banker, he's been better than Boris, hasn't he? He hasn't just been better than Boris on coronavirus, he's been better than Boris on the statues. Because I remember him kicking off on the news saying, we're French, we're proud to be French, we're not fucking... yeah, high blood pressure, John. He said, we're proud to be French, we're not apologising for our history, we're not taking down any statues. Macron, slimy, neoliberal little shit weasel that he is, has been better than Boris Johnson on patriotism and individual liberties and the coronavirus. Macron, better than Boris, who's supposed to be in charge of the Conservative Party. They're about as conservative as Tony fucking Blair. Unbelievable.
In France and said, look, we underestimated this. We've made mistakes. I'm sorry. we're doing our best. A degree of honesty.
Yes.
At no point has that pipsqueak Hancock admitted that he's got anything wrong.
Pipsqueak.
Well, I mean, it'd be harder for him to admit that he got something right, wouldn't it? Because I can't think of anything in particular off the top of my head. But I mean, this is the other problem where they keep saying to us, but we're following the science. It's very clear now, Nigel, that the science doesn't even agree with the science. There's Carl Hennigan saying one thing, there's Chris Whitty saying another. You know, now, if you're an
How right is he there as well, right? Do you remember when Michael Gove... Again, a lot of people thought Michael Gove would be a better PM than Boris Johnson, didn't they? Because Gove seems more intelligent. He's not likeable because he's another grey middle-class arsehole, but he does seem brighter than Johnson. And Michael Gove said people have had enough of experts, and all the silly cunts were mocking him. How right was Michael Gove? How right was he? People have had enough of experts. They have. Not because people are stupid. The instigation from these lefty fucking windbags was that, oh, you disagree with the experts, you're an imbecile. You know, the Guardian readers. The reason people have had enough of experts is because normal people have common sense and they realise that for every expert that you can find who says, oh yeah, we need to have a lockdown like Neil Ferguson, well then you can find an expert who agrees with the exact opposite. That Anders Lindemann, or whatever he's called in Sweden, the Swedish health minister, there's loads of experts who go, fuck you don't know what you're talking about. Neil Ferguson, sweaty little sex pest that he is, rat-faced sex pest. I fucking hate that man. He's ruined the country. And everyone's like, oh yeah, got to listen to the experts. They find the experts that agree with their preconceived notions, don't they? Experts. People have had enough of experts because people are more sensible, because people look at both sides of the argument. Normal people, bricklayers. They read the paper every day and they look at both sides of an argument and go, yeah, maybe we should do this. Experts get employed by the government depending on what they're espousing. And if you're a government that's pro-lockdown, when the government's pro-lockdown, they go, oh, look at all these experts telling us what we want to hear. And if you're anti-lockdown, they go and find some fucking experts that are against it. There's loads of experts that are against it, not just a few. Soros and his fucking mate. There's loads of experts. I've read dozens of stories in the last fucking 6 months from proper, high up, shit tons of letters behind the names, well-paid, government-employed experts all around the world who disagree with the lockdown. Sukrit Bhakti is another big one. He's got fucking letters after us. He's no less eminent than Neil, sexpest, sweaty little rat-faced weasel man Ferguson. He's no less eminent than him, but he disagrees with him. So the government go, fuck him. Here's our expert. He was totally right, Michael Gove. Again, I eat my words. I laughed at him when he initially said the public's sick of experts. He was 100% right. Because for every expert who's pro one fucking thing, there's an expert that's pro the other side of it. So as usual, the public trusts the public. Same with Brexit. Experts say we can't. Well, experts say we can as well. So instead of going on about experts, trust the public. Because democracy works. Because there's tens of millions of people. And you let the fucking experts suck your fucking plums and you make your own bastard mind up. Because the public listens to all the experts. They read the papers, they listen to the fucking radio, and they make a decision. The experts that work for the government are picked precisely because they're already telling them what they wanted to hear in the first place. That's why the system works. Trust the general public. Fuck me.
Ordinary layman or woman, who are you supposed to believe?
Well, that's right. I mean, the whole idea that the science was settled was what Tony Blair told us over climate change. And it was a similar line that Boris used from the start.
Climate
We're following
change.
the science.
There's
Science
another one.
always profoundly disagrees. And I actually think that for a national press conference to take place at 11 o'clock this morning with two government-appointed officials telling us our future, telling us our fortune, is outrageous. It's Margaret Thatcher that said that advisors advise and ministers decide. And it's almost as if we've got the blame being shifted from Boris, Hancock, Gove and the government onto these two guys. They're appointees. And of course, their advice to central government is very, very important. But it looks this morning like rule by bureaucrats, government by ministerial degree, and it's undemocratic, it's disproportionate. And I'm urging people please contact your MP. Please say no to a second lockdown.
I do agree with him. I'll tell you what I'll do after this. I'll actually write a letter, because I'm a decent writer. I've wrote procedures and work instructions and all that for numerous companies. I'll write a letter without any swearing in, and you can cut and paste it and send it to the collection of spunk trumpets that run the country, and just stick your name on and send it to them. Because maybe it'll do nothing, and maybe I'm still being, milquetoast centrist arsehole that I am, but it can't do any harm. They are afraid of losing the seats because it's a sweet gravy train and a sweet pension. They want to stay in their seats. And if enough people write to these daft cunts and say, I'll tell you what, mate, I'd rather vote for fucking Fred West than you in the next election, you absolute hornblower. Maybe they will go, you know what? We haven't got public support. And we definitely haven't. We know this because we're the general public. We go to the pub. We talk to our neighbours. We fucking take the kids to school. We walk the fucking dog. And everyone we meet says, are they pulling our collective pisses or what? Like, nobody is behind another lockdown. They aren't. And the reason this has gone wrong is because we have a political class in the UK, don't we? It's like fucking... We know this. It's not like in America where it's by race and fucking all that type of thing. The UK is a class society because the UK was 99.99% white in fucking 1940. Britain doesn't have racial segregation. We have class segregation. How many of them go to fucking Eton? Nearly all of them. Eton. Because you have to talk like you've got 3 plums and a set of testicles in your mouth if you want to be a leader in England. Because it's an old society and it's based entirely around your class. If you talk like me, no one will vote for you. Doesn't matter how clever you are, how switched on you are. When they put you on question time and you go, well, yeah, sounds Kenny-like, they'll go, fuck off, you brain-dead Geordie twat, or whatever. You've got to be posh. And we know this, right? I've talked about this before. That's why Sargon of Akkad has 1 million subs. It's not because he's particularly... And I do like the guy. Again, I'm not slagging him off. I'm a big fan of his. He's the reason I started doing it. But it's because he's got a posh accent. Humans like to be led. We do. We like to be led. I found that in the military. We like to be led. It's good. You like to feel as if someone knows what they're doing and know they're in charge. We like to be led. We like confidence. And for some reason, we do like people to talk with like an RP voice. So in England, we've got a class society. Most of our politicians and our judges and our mayors and everybody went to private school, for example. Like, Google it. The numbers are staggering. Considering only something like 5% of the population goes to private school, but they make up 70% of our MPs. That proves the truth of my words. These fucking people know nothing. They've got no common sense. They don't meet normal people. They live in a bubble in London, and everyone they meet is a Guardian reading upper crust lefty arsehole. So they don't know. They don't know that the public doesn't support the lockdown. They don't. They think 60% of the public are cringing cowards who are like, please tell us what to do. Please, please use that power of the state to lock everybody in a cupboard until the fucking bad virus goes away. Like, it's pathetic. They don't realise that it is a country of lions, people that have got a backbone and a spine. People have got a spine in the UK, more than most places I've ever been. The Aussies are a tough bunch of bastards as well. The general public have got no time for it. Countries like Germany, they have got more time for it because it's in their DNA. Even, again, I don't want to go into philosophy and shit. Kant, compared to John Locke, Kant is more of a statist than Locke is. British people do not like being told what to do as much as the Jerrys do. This is why the Jerrys love the EU. The island apes, that's us, the Brits, we don't like it. And I'll tell you, I've used this analogy before. The fucking Germans, when the Germans see a drunk passed out, covered in his own shit next to a bus shelter, the Germans see that and they go, that's terrible, we must fix this. This is a problem we have to deal with. And when the Irish and the British, the islands, it must be the island mentality. When we see a tramp covered in shit because he's drinking fucking Benylin, right? We look at that and we go, that's terrible. It's a Tuesday morning, he should be at work. He shouldn't be covered in his own feces, sleeping in a fucking wheelie bin. But we go, You know what? He has the freedom to make that decision, because free men have the right to make terrible decisions. How many times have I said that? I hate state-mandated politeness. It's what the left likes now. State-mandated politeness. Oh, you can be done for hate speech. You can be done for being rude. You can be done for being intolerant. You can be done for being mean. Like with Count Dankula. You can't have state-mandated politeness. You can't have state-mandated get to work, you lazy bastard. That's the difference between us and the Germans. Germans are statists. The Continentals more than the Brits and the Irish. The statists. Like the SNP. The statists. Fucking Marxists and communists. They love the government to tell you exactly what to do, exactly where to go, exactly where to be. And the Brits, the Irish and our descendants, the Americans, just like us, they like freedom. The freedom to make bad decisions. And this is what I'm telling you. Freedom to risk getting coronavirus. Freedom to go and get shit-faced drunk at 8 o'clock in the morning instead of going to work and wrapping your fucking car around a tree. Freedom to make bad decisions, because free people are allowed to be arseholes. Right? Free people are allowed to be arseholes. And I'll never support anyone who doesn't give me the opportunity to be a twat whenever I fucking see fit. And that's the difference between us and the continental fucking Euro trash over across the fucking channel, who think every little part of your life should be dictated to you by a little fat, wizened fucking midget like Angela Merkel, who looks like she gets a fucking haircut with shears in a garden shed by fucking Stevie Wonder. Muhammad Ali wearing his boxing gloves with Parkinson's disease could do your hair better than whatever the fuck Merkel's walking around with sitting on her head, the little fat dwarf. I hate her. Anyway, let's crack on. That's me ranting about freedom. It's fucking important.
And please insist that any big decisions that fundamentally affect the lives of tens of millions of us are debated openly in the House of Commons, through the media. Let's have a national debate, not Mr. Hancock or Chris Whitty deciding our future.
Yes, exactly right. And we've just heard Andrew Bridgen on the news there, being one of those MPs who's on your side on this, who wants to have the proper debate, because the whole idea of these extra powers that were brought in was that they would be reviewed in 6 months' time. You can't just turn around and go, well, now we're not going to review them, we're just going to add another 6 months. I mean, it's ridiculous.
No. Well, thank goodness that David Davis got the amendment passed, which said a six-month review.
Right, this is the meat of it. So David Davis is the guy who got the amendment passed, so they're going to have to vote on this again, which is why I'm telling you, we need to tell these silly cunts what the crack is. They need to vote to extend the lockdown. They want to just do it for 2 years in a wanna. And David Davis said, no, you want to do this illiberal, stomping on people's freedoms shit, it needs to have a cut-off, a line in the sand. It's 6 months, and then fuck yous, we're doing it again. So they're going to vote on it soon. So like I'm saying, we need to tell these morons, because it's all well and good just saying, I'm cutting myself off from the political process altogether. I want nothing to do with any of it. Fuck them. I'm just going to vote for Farage in 4 years. Because that's 4 fucking years away. In the meantime, damage limitation is tell these shit-for-brains politicians what the crack is, and tell them you don't have the support of the general public. They definitely don't. They don't see it because they live in fucking London and they're all posh twats. They don't talk to the neighbours. Posh people don't talk to the neighbours, do they? You have to talk to your neighbours in fucking Middlesbrough, because when you live in a cupboard, you can't help but fucking... You have to tap on the fucking... the thin plywood when they've got the music on too loud. These fuckers don't talk to people. They honestly don't realise that most people don't support the lockdown. They definitely don't. They seem to think, 51% at least supports locking everybody in again. And they definitely don't. So we need to tell the silly bastards.
Originally, the government wanted this to be in place for 2 years. This is supposed to be a Conservative government with a Prime Minister who we told is a Libertarian. I mean, I think some days it feels like Jeremy Corbyn won the last election.
Yeah, well, I mean, not that one is to be into conspiracy theories, but I was amused to read a conspiracy theory the other day, which actually said that when Boris Johnson went into hospital, it wasn't him that came out. It was somebody else that looked like Boris Johnson, but in fact was not. But obviously that's not true. But I mean, the bottom line for me is that the people of this country, almost to a man and woman, by far and away do not want a second lockdown. They are fed up to the back teeth of not being able to go wherever they want to go, whenever they want to do it. You know, yes, of course, people are going to be sensible, but we don't need to tell everyone to shut the schools, to get back inside your houses, to not go anywhere, to shut all the pubs down, to shut every business down and wreck the entire nation.
Yeah, get onto your MPs, put the pressure on, make Boris's government understand you're saying no to a second lockdown and that they may never get your vote again unless they start opening this up to a proper democratic process. And, you know, maybe that'll have an effect because this government operates more on followership than it does leadership.
Yes.
They've U-turned more than any government I've seen in my lifetime. They're scared of public opinion. They're scared of the polls. So make your feelings known, please.
Exactly what I've been saying though for months, innit? Boris Johnson is a fucking jellyfish. Again, he's got his charms. I used to laugh when he was on Have I Got News For You? He's a funny bloke. Like if you got him in the boozer and had a bit of crack with him, I think Boris Johnson would be a good laugh. I'd go for a pint with him. But I'd go for a pint with some manky, crusty old shit-covered hobo. I'll have a pint with anyone. Doesn't mean I want them running the fucking country. It's what I always tell fucking class warriors, like, again, lefty class warrior cunts. Like, oh yeah, I want someone to be like me. You know, Americans love that as well. Oh, would I go for a beer with him? Well, listen, I don't want some fucker who went to the worst school in the country to be running the country. I don't mind someone being working class. That's preferable to me. But he has to be clever. I don't want him to be too much like me. Fucking hell, my best mate in school's got the IQ of a fucking pork pie, and when he was supposed to be doing maths and English, he was fucking sniffing glue out the back of the bike sheds and trying to get a fucking hand job off the dinner lady. I don't want him running the fucking country. I'll hold my hands up and admit it. If that makes me a class traitor, fucking... sorry. Fucking hell. We just need common sense.
Yes, indeed. And while we're on the subject of making your feelings known, I've also similarly been asking people to write to their MPs to ask them about whether or not any illegal migrants are being housed in their constituencies. You'd made another video last week, Nigel, which was very interesting, down at that camp, barracks, I should say, down in Folkestone, next door to where the Gurkhas were. I believe today is the day that all starts kind of kicking off, isn't it?
Yes, up to 400 people will be moved into the Shorncliffe barracks on the cliffs above Folkestone. Barracks that were originally built to stop the Napoleonic invasion, and barracks that now will be hosting those who are part of this year's invasion. I spoke to local councillors, I spoke to residents. They've no idea who's going to come, but you can bet your bottom dollar it'll be 400 young men. It's an open camp. They'll be out mixing in the community, and this is not a recipe for happy relations with the local community. There's also an army camp in South Wales that's going to be used. Lots of hotels are filled, lots of private accommodation. And I make this prediction. Tomorrow...
That answers your question, whoever it was who asked about Tenby. You know what? I've actually stayed at Penally Camp when I was... fucking hell, I'm going back now. I joined the Corps in 99. I think it was about 2000. It was for adventure training when I was a recruit. They took us to Penally Camp in Tenby for a long weekend, run ashore. Adventure training, I think about week 15 or something, you get a weekend adventure training. So we went to Tenby, and it was a hoof and run ashore, went on the piss, had a great time. So I've actually stayed at that camp, but it's an old shitty camp, and I do think that's a better choice than a hotel. Why we even put them in a hotel is baffling to me, because... how good are hotels? Hotels cost a lot of money. Fucking hell, when I go travelling, I stay in worse hotels than they do. I stay in like the shitty ones, like fucking, what do you call it? Sleazy Jet. You might not know this. They do a hotel chain. They've got Sleazy Hotel. And me and our lass, when we went to London last time, we stayed in Sleazy Hotel. It's literally like a fucking double bed and a shitter next to it, which also doubles as a shower. And when you fucking open the door, it's basically touching the bed. It's just a cupboard with a bed in it. And, I stay in them because it's cheap when you go to London, and then you've got more money for boozing, right? You want to go out and enjoy yourself. Normal people are like, oh, nowadays, you know, when everyone's got less money, nowadays people are like, oh, I want a 5-star hotel with a 4-poster bed. They're like, I'll have a cheap, shitty room so I can spend more money in the pub and in the restaurants and fucking enjoy myself. You don't sit in your room when you're travelling anyway, do you? So why the fuck are we putting migrants up in fucking 4 and 5 star hotels when even the general public don't stay in them? I don't stay in the Hilton when I go travelling, but if you break into the country illegally, finger a few kids, they'll put you up in a Hilton. Makes no sense to me at all. So yeah, to answer that earlier, I'm 100% behind putting them in a military base. I mean, ultimately, you want to be deporting the vast majority of them, but in the meantime, stick them in a fucking military base. If it's good enough for law-abiding citizens like me to stay in, it's good enough for them, right? If you've just come from a shithole, stay in a military base, no problem. I don't know why we didn't do it in the first place. Old prisons as well. Lock them in there. If you're a fucking migrant, you won't mind spending a few weeks in a triple-tiered bunk bed, will you? It's not the end of the world. It's better than being in a fucking rape camp in Mogadishu or something.
We'll see. And I've got this intelligence this morning, all right? Tomorrow we'll see an attempt by hundreds to leave the beaches of northern France and come to the UK. Now, if I know this is happening tomorrow already, I would like to think the Home Secretary, I would like to think Border Force, I would like to think the French authorities would know that too. Let's see. This time tomorrow, Mike, let's see whether my prediction's right.
And you know he's going to be right, don't you? You know for a fact his prediction's going to be right. It's another thing that's enraged me about Priti Patel. This is old news. Seriously. Julian Thompson, who used to be the Commandant General of the Royal Marines when I was in, he's retired now. He wrote a story about this literally in 2015. Oh yeah, the sheriff in Arizona, that was Joe Arpaio, I think it was. He used to proper make them like dig trenches and stuff. He had the right idea. But yeah, this it's just a fucking nonsense. Like, Julian Thompson was writing about this in 2015, saying get the Navy to patrol the shoreline. You have 3 commando units. You have 2 that are operational. You have 1 on standby. That's how it works in the Marines. So when I was at 40 Commando, deployed to Afghanistan, and then the next year we were on fucking downtime. So you do shit like go to the careers office. I went to Middlesbrough careers office, which was fucking like being in Iraq anyway. So it wasn't much of a fucking year off for me. Took a year off from Afghanistan, went to the Middlesbrough careers office. Fucking hell, I seen all the Afghans again. It was like the same Taliban I arrested when I was in Afghanistan and we sent off to fucking Guantanamo Bay. Bumped into the fuckers when I went back to Middlesbrough careers office. Wasn't much of a fucking year off. Anyway, where was I? On a bit of a tangent there. Who fucking cares? Point is, the Major General of the Royal Marines was saying this point 5 years ago. He was saying, we're getting invaded, we can fix it easily by getting a few Navy vessels and 1,000 Royal Marines and have them separated. You could do it easily. A troop in a fucking rib. How many was that from one unit? 24 men in a troop, stick them in a rib or a mib, get them patrolling the fucking coastline. It's a piece of piss. And we knew that we should have been doing it in 2015. We knew. So if I knew, and you knew, and Julian Thompson knew in 2015, why the fuck is Priti Patel still doing nothing about this? 5 years to plan for it. Nothing. Nothing. And I'll tell you something else as well. I've been saying this for years. The second we collapse talks with the EU, the French are going to fuck us. They're going to fuck us at Calais. They're going to just let everyone through. They're going to be fucking waving them through like they're at a fucking gay disco, like, fucking come on through, boys. They're going to wave them through. And we're going to be surprised. We're going to be surprised. We'll be like, whoa, we didn't see this coming. Again, the general public did. The general public have been saying for about fucking 2 years, you can't trust the French. Make sure you get the fucking Marines down at Dover. But it won't happen. It won't happen. And the day after, we'll have 100,000 fucking unvettable, scary, fighting age men wandering around Dover with fucking scaffolding poles and fucking cricket bats, and the government's going to go, whoa, we never saw that coming. We fucking did. We did. We've been seeing it coming for 5 years, and you didn't do anything about it because you don't want to do anything about it, because you pretended you were conservative and you pretended you were interested in getting immigration under control because we're worried about people murdering children at pop concerts, and you couldn't give a flying fuck. because they're not scraping your kids off the walls of the Manchester fucking arena. Rather, your kids go to private school, your kids are off playing fucking croquet with fucking Hugo Pottersby Smythe III. It's our kids who get scraped off the fucking walls and the floors. Normal people's kids who got flattened like fucking squid in Nice. 400 people mashed by jihadis that got into France because of Merkel's fucking shit rules. No procedures, no fucking common sense, nothing. And these bastards love to turn around and go, well, we couldn't have seen it coming. We can see it coming. We've seen it coming. Farage has been talking about it for 6 months, and Julian Thompson was talking about it 5 years ago. So you can't fob me off with this, well, you know, what can you do? It's ridiculous.
And let's see whether anybody has lifted a finger. Otherwise, we'll get another army camp full tomorrow.
Interesting that you say that, because we wondered on Friday whether Serco had been instructed to move people from hotels, because that was seen as unpalatable now, into these barracks. We got an answer from Serco which said that they have nothing to do with the barracks whatsoever. So these are clearly new migrants who are claiming asylum who are being put into these barracks type accommodations. So it's not as if they're moving people, these are extra people.
Listen, I'll have to address that thick sunroof. Think about the children. Honestly, I'm not mega right-wing on immigration. I've argued with all the white nationalists before. I don't see things as badly as they do, because I see full-blown white nationalism, like they go down that route, as being basically the same as communism, right? It's pigeonholing millions and millions of people and going, we're all identical. And I don't like it. The libertarian streak in me doesn't like it. So I don't agree with that. I'm not particularly right-wing. I'm not saying some people shouldn't be given asylum. I'm not. But seriously, look at the footage. Look at the footage from the last 6 months. Look at the photos in the newspapers. Look at the eyewitness reports on YouTube. There's no kids there, mate. That is not an argument. If we were dealing with... If I even seen 10% of those boats with women and children, I might have some sympathy for them. I've even talked about this before, like, if it was mainly women and kids, I'd have a lot more sympathy, because women and kids aren't scary. Kids grow up to be men, don't want to have too many, but I'd draw a line in the sand and go, like, we can manage 50,000 a year. Women and kids, they're not going to rape anyone. Women aren't that dangerous. Vet them as best you can, give them a medical, and get them, push them around the UK as best you can. But seriously, I'm not particularly right-wing. If you think I'm some sort of neo-Nazi because I'm complaining about immigration, you're crazy, and that's the world we're living in. That's why everything's gone wrong, because they won't even let you talk about it. I'm not particularly right-wing on immigration. I am an immigrant. I simply want a procedure. You have to have a procedure. When I came to America, medical, 2 interviews, background check, small fee. That type of thing is all I want. We don't get it. And the reason I, again, disagree with the very right wing on immigration is because it's not that bad. They reckon there's up to 1 million illegal immigrants in the UK now, right? Up to 1 million. I reckon it's higher. Again, I think it's higher because I know normal people, coppers, firefighters, people who, paramedics and medical technicians who work with the general public. I think it's higher than 1 million. So my argument to the very, very right wing who just want to completely lock up shop is if we just enforce the law properly, we don't need to go down copying the communists and playing this collectivist game. If we literally just enforce the law properly and deported the people we arrest in their hundreds every single day. Like I've talked about, seriously, I know loads of guys in the Met. Every day they arrest hundreds of illegal immigrants and they just release them onto the streets. If we simply deported criminal illegal immigrants, the problem would be almost fixed. There'd be hundreds of thousands less. They're concerned about too many foreigners and all this. There'd be hundreds of thousands, possibly over 1 million less criminal migrants, illegal immigrants, foreigners from all the third world. Simply enforcing the law would basically fix that problem. So, I mean, Middlesbrough, there's fucking thousands of them. All of a sudden, most of your problems, the things that make right-wing, far-right nationalists empowered, is when your life is impacted by them, right? This isn't up for debate, this is a fact. They get the bit between their teeth when normal people are suffering, when their life is worse. And it's the little things. It's can't find a school place for your kid, can't get a doctor's appointment because it's full, can't get a dentist's appointment because it's full, so too much traffic, no jobs. The little things is what turns into big things. And that's, again, a proven fact, right? If your life quality goes downhill, you look for an alternative. Simply enforcing the current laws properly and aggressively would fix all them problems. You suddenly deport 1 million illegal immigrants and most of them problems go away. Suddenly, NHS isn't overtaxed because there's 1 million less fucking people using it. Suddenly there's school places for your kids. Suddenly you can go to the dentist and get an appointment because you don't have 300 fucking Somalians with no teeth banging on the fucking door. Like, seriously, normal people see this in Middlesbrough. You see it, you go to the dentist and you go, oh, sorry mate, there's a 6-week fucking waiting list. Why? Oh yeah, because this fucking Captain Phillips fucking Somali pirate's coming in before you and he's got teeth like a fucking witch doctor's necklace. Oh, and behind him is his fucking brother and he's got teeth like a fucking row of bombed houses. And behind him's his fucking brother and he could eat a fucking apple through a tennis racket. I've got endless analogies for it. Bad teeth because I'm British. That's the crack. Cheshire Yeoman, I know you've been around for ages, mate. I disagree with you on that point. Repatriate 20 million. There's not that many. There's not that many fucking foreigners in the UK. And also, as I keep saying to you, if you grow up in Middlesbrough, there's a lot of brown people there. My mate Atif, parents were both from Pakistan, but he was born and raised in Middlesbrough. He talks like me. He drinks pints. He totally has no time for any of the religious bullshit. He's basically just like me. So I don't think the system is bad enough where we have to fucking go in down that road. I don't. We can agree to disagree. Again, I'm not some sort of fucking lefty fucking fascist. It's fine, we can disagree. I'm sure we could still get on perfectly well. But things aren't as bad as that. I don't think we need to go hardcore authoritarian shit at this point in time. I don't. But we need to get a grip of it. Michael Howard is someone who got me talking down this route because I remember I got well into politics in the sort of noughties. Michael Howard was an immigrant. His parents were Jews, fled after the Second World War. There isn't 80 million. There's not 80 million people in the UK. No fucking way. I reckon, like I said, probably 1 million, maybe it's 1.5 million tops. That seems the numbers. Enforce the law, the problems fix themselves. But Michael Howard said, listen, my vocabulary is uneducated. I will have you know I can read and write proper. Like, Michael Howard said, if you don't address the little things, if you don't listen to normal people, you will turn normal people into Nazis. And you will. This is what I'm talking about. If your quality of life goes downhill and you can't find a school for the kids and the crime's through the roof and you're scared of going out at night and you can't get a doctor's appointment, you can't get a dentist's appointment and there's traffic everywhere and you can't do anything, you will go, well, I'll just vote for whoever's going to fix the problem. Not listening to normal centrist or centre-right, normal working class people's concerns creates Nazis. So they need to get a grip of it and enforce the law and people will go back to being the friendly, welcoming fucking people they are. Most people are nice. Most people are alright. I am a people person. I know I come across as a miserable bastard because I'm always fucking ranting at my fucking screen. Most people are pleasant. I get on with people. When I go to the pub, I have a chat with anyone in there. I'm very, very fucking verbose. There's a big word for you. Taking the piss out of my vocabulary. Verbose. I am verbose. I love to talk shit. I'll talk to anyone. I talk to people. I get on with people. Most people are nice. I'm not a cynical bastard like that. I don't think most people are awful. And if we just enforce the law properly, there's not going to be any Nazis. There's not going to be any fascists. But you don't deal with the small problems and it's incremental. And then small problems, 10 small problems becomes a medium problem. And then 5 medium problems becomes a massive problem. And when you get massive problems, people are going to go, well, you know what? It's something that I never thought I'd say, and it pains me to do it, but I'll vote for the fascist fucker because he said he's going to sort the problem out. It's common sense. I cannot believe that better educated people like me, people like Owen Jones, right? He's got a college degree, I haven't. I'm just a fucking soldier, I'm a military man. It staggers me that educated people cannot see what is as clear as day to any working class normal person, that small problems become big problems. If you want to create Nazis, don't deal with the small problems. That's how you do it. Do you think of it this way? I'll tell you what, I'll put it as simply as I can. If one of your children, let's say you're a lefty, you might be a lifelong Guardian reading lefty. If your child went to see Ariana Grande and promptly found herself scattered across the fucking walls, how liberal are you going to be the next day? Little sassy, man. It breaks my heart, and I have got a lump of coal in my chest. I'm a miserable bastard, right? I'm steeled against the rigours of life because of my former career choice. But I deal with some harsh things, right? But even I get sad when I see a picture of them little kids. Saskia, I think she was called, was like 9 years old. And you look at them photos of her smiling with her fucking mum, and you realise she got blew to bits. And it tweaks at your underused British heartstrings. It makes you sad. And you think that little girl would still be alive if we did our due diligence and properly vetted people coming into the country. So you tell me, if you're a lefty, like whoever's having a go at me for having a limited vocabulary, apparently, you tell me, how liberal would you be? If you had 2 8-year-old twins and you sent them to see Ariana Grande and you suddenly get a phone call and they say, by the way, a Libyan blew them to bits, and neither of your daughters are coming home and you're never going to see them ever again because they died in pain and agony, crying for the mother, scattered across the fucking side of the Manchester Arena. How liberal are you going to be the week after? When they say, oh yeah, let's let another 100 poorly vetted fighting age men from Libya in. How liberal are you going to be? You just lost both your kids. You're going to go, yeah, fuck it, let them all in. That's the most simplistic way I can put it. So you get a grip. You enforce centrist, common sense, logical immigration policies, or you create neo-fucking Nazis. So pick one. Pick one. Bury your head in the sand and don't deal with it, and wait 10 years and you're going to have fucking 10 million angry Nazis, or deal with it in a common, centrist, liberal way, and we can all get back to fucking enjoying our lives. But don't sit there with don't stick your head firmly up your fucking ass and then tell me, oh no, it's fine, it's fine. It's not fine. Look at the numbers. Every day, unvetted fighting age men move to the UK. Every day, hundreds of them, don't know if they've been, at least some of them have definitely been in ISIS, right? Again, even if I'm giving you as much rope to hang yourself as I possibly can, even if I meet the liberal lefty Guardian readers as far in their aisle as I possibly can, some of them are going to be terrorists, right? There was tens of thousands of people joined ISIS, fought for them. Soon as they knew Merkel was opening the borders, they all ditched the docks, deep-sixed all of their ammo and the guns, and then applied for asylum. That's a proven fact. We've had ISIS slaves and rape victims bump into their tormentors in supermarkets in France and Germany and England. It's happened. So that's a proven fact. Even if it only is 2 in every 100 turns out to be an ISIS fighter, a terrorist, a jihadi, a terrorist sympathiser, a killer, that's too many, isn't it? They don't need to be here. And they kill children. So don't tell me it's not that big a deal. It's a big deal. Dead children upsets me. Call me a bluff old traditionalist. I think seeing kids get blown to bits would upset most people, because I'm not a fucking maniac.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I mean, the number of people who've come to Britain illegally that we're now housing is now over 50,000. 50,000. And I can...
50,000. if only 0.5% of them are killers, that's a lot of fucking killers, isn't it? Think about it.
I can tell you, my inbox every day is from people who can't get GP appointments, from people who feel that the streets of their local town are not as safe as they used to be, from people telling me, groups of migrants, forget about the rule of 6. I mean, they were out on the beach at Hoylake in Liverpool the other day with a big football game. This is, I honestly don't think that stuck in London, the government understand just how unhappy their own supporters are. A recent YouGov poll showed 97% of Conservative voters concerned or very concerned about what's going on. But looking ahead, Mike, if we
97% of Conservative voters, the party that won the election comfortably, 97% of them are concerned about this and they're doing nothing about it. Like I said, you tell me what's going through their head. They don't live in the real world, they live in a London bubble and they think everyone in the UK is as liberal as fucking a BBC newsreader. Yeah. Emily Maitlis. They think everyone in the UK agrees with Emily Maitlis, and they don't.
May for a moment. On the 1st of January, we leave the Dublin regulations. We leave that part of EU rules that makes it very difficult to send anybody back to Calais if they haven't claimed asylum in France or Europe first. It's been a problem for Priti Patel. By act of British Parliament, those rules end on the 1st of January 2021. But, and here's the problem, we need a new agreement in place between us and the French so that we can start returning people properly from January the 1st. And from what I can see, the French are being wholly uncooperative because it's not really in their interest, is it, to do this deal? So we're facing a moment in the next few weeks when either the French do a deal with us and we recognize international law as it should be upheld, or we'll see whether the government has the courage to act unilaterally from January the 1st. If they don't get a deal or have the courage to act unilaterally, this migrant boat crisis in the Channel could go on for years.
It really could. Nigel Farage, thank you very much indeed. Nigel Farage, Brexit Party leader, speaking an awful lot of sense.
That's that, boys and girls. So what do you think? Did anything Farage say there not make sense? It was perfectly reasonable, perfectly elucidated, nothing far right about it. He's simply advocating for common sense, centrist politics. And they call it populism as if that means anything. Populism. All they really mean there is the general public agrees with him. The general public agrees with it, therefore that's evil. Because we should have this tiny elite of weirdo fucking commies running the show and they can do whatever they want and who cares if the 97% of the fucking public doesn't agree with them. That's not democracy. Like I've joked about. Seriously, democracy is king. That's all that matters. Trust the public. We had to do Brexit because the referendum went that way. And if 90% of the country don't agree with the way the government's handling these problems, they have to change course. They have to hold their hands up and be man enough to say, lads, we fucked up, we got it wrong. You run the country. You, the general public, runs the country. We are merely your representatives. If 90% of you don't agree with lockdown, if 90% of you don't agree with not using the Navy and enforcing the borders, then we will change course. And if they don't do that, you don't live in a democracy. They're ruling by fiat. If the 90% demand it, and it has to happen. And I've joked about this before. If the people of Middlesbrough had a fucking referendum and they said we want to install a massive 100-foot cock in the middle of the town centre, get rid of the transporter bridge, just put a giant robot cock in the middle of the town centre, and 51% of them said, yep, that's a good idea, I would support it. I'd be like, I can't believe we're spending fucking taxpayers' money on a fucking cyborg android cock for the middle of the town centre. But whatever, I lost the argument. it has to happen. That's democracy. They keep losing. The lefties keep losing. They might control the mass media and the BBC and Channel 4, but if they keep losing, they can't have it their way. I'm sorry, that's just the way it works. If you're away in the football and you lose, they don't fucking change the score because the crowd demanded it, right? It's democracy. Just listen. Listen to the public. Trust the public. They have a good grasp of the issues. The British general public like to read the newspapers, like to listen to the radio, like to be informed, like to do their own research, like to read the studies, and they've listened to what the Swedes are doing, and they've listened to what the Japanese are doing, and they listen to what the British are doing, and they make their own mind up. They listen to the experts, they listen to the experts on that side, they listen to the experts on that side. Don't tell me we're ignoring the experts. The experts disagree. Science. That's what happens. People change their mind, people disagree. There's experts who think we should be locked down, there's experts who think we shouldn't. The general public's listened to them all and they've made their fucking mind up. So do it. Anyway, that went on a lot longer than I thought it was going to. Once I start ranting, I can fucking go on. My mouth works much faster than my feet. I got told that when I was in my basic training. That's why I was getting thrashed mercilessly all the time. Thanks for listening. I will write a fucking letter and I'll put a link in there. Something needs to happen. We need to let our MPs know that if they keep going down this route of locking people up when the general public is completely against it, we will sack the fucking lot of them. And yeah, I'm done. I'm man enough to admit it. I was wrong. I shouldn't have voted for Boris. I should have went for fucking Farage. And if we have to live with 4 years of communists before we change our mind and change direction, well, we can handle it. We're big boys. We can deal with it. We can tighten our belts, and we can live with it. But so, from as of today, I have officially changed my mind. I'm not voting for the least shitty option. That's what they've wanted us to do for decades in the UK. It's like, oh, well, I don't like Boris. He's a bit of a knobhead, but I'll vote for him anyway because if we don't, Corbyn might get it. That needs to change. I'm totally over this. If we have to have a commie in charge for 4 years, I'll see it happen. But I'm voting for Farage from now on. He's the least worst option. The least worst option crack is not doing it for me anymore. I'm not fucking voting. They aren't conservative. They conserve nothing. Roger Scruton was a conservative. I like Roger Scruton. A lot. I've read 2 of his books. Roger Scruton was a conservative. And the clue's in the name. Conservative means conserve things. Keep things the way they are. Conserve things so your children and grandchildren can enjoy them. And the Conservatives conserve nothing. They don't have any respect for individual liberty. They don't have any respect for our democracy. They don't have any respect for the general public. They think they're all stupid. And they don't conserve anything. They're going to change the fucking National History Museum. They're going to throw all the books out that they think are problematic. They don't conserve statues. They don't conserve common sense. So fuck them. I'm officially done with I am an ex-Tory as of today. And if that puts communists in fucking 10 Downing Street for a few years, well, so be it. We can handle it. And I don't want to say that as a smug expat, because as I live over here now, I would be doing the same if I was in Middlesbrough still. We can handle it. If I have to live off fucking porridge and rain for 4 years, well, I'll do it to get the country back in the hands of people that listen to the fucking working classes and do as they're fucking told. So that's me. I'm done. I'm man enough to admit it. I was wrong. I apologise. I am a fucking Terry Fuckwit. That is my new name for the next 24 hours. And then we can get back to normal. So yeah, I was wrong. Brexit voters, you were right. Hats off to you, you clever bastards. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to share my videos, because I swear down, every time I crest a wave, I wake up the next morning, it's fucking back down again. YouTube don't like you unless you're far left, because my perfectly reasonable centrist opinions constantly get me silenced and censored. It's a fucking piss take. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll talk to you guys again soon. Cheers. How do I stop this fucking thing? There we go. Cheers, guys. See you around.